What's up, everybody? This your boy Marcus Mooney, a.k.a. Moon the Poet.
And I'm your man, Professor Q.
Welcome
to Join Air.
Ladies and gents, what up, what up, what up, what up? It's been a minute.
Yes, sir.
Oh, my brother, it's been a minute, man. You know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, it's been so long, we gonna call this season 2. We gonna go ahead and say this season 2, y'all. Join Air's in the building, though. You know, we what my man you say, I thought I told you that we won't stop. I don't need to use that as a reference. Never mind all that. Never mind, no Diddy, right? Never mind all that. Oh, yeah. But yo, we back in it for the kingdom, man.
Yes,
we hadn't gone nowhere as far as, living and representing the kingdom, you know what I'm saying, doing what we got to do. We've been busy with summertime dads, vacations.
I've been on injured reserve.
You know what I'm saying? All kinds of stuff, man. Battling illnesses, overcoming, you know what I'm saying? Ministry work as always, and kids.
Right.
You know, we got a tribe in between the two of us. So definitely. But man, we glad to be back. Glad to be back in the building doing what we do. Of course, you know, I'm your boy Moon, and as always,
Professor
my boy,
Q
Professor Q is in the building. Yes, sir. And we got a topic. You know, it's just so much, man. Like honestly, we could have 13 topics in one. You know,
it can go a lot of ways.
It can go a lot of ways. But basically, man, you know, we're going to discuss racial idolatry.
Yes, sir.
Racial idolatry. That is a big one. Bro, man, you know, set us up for the win, man.
All right, so before we get into it, though, you know, we ain't here to talk politics in particular today, but I wanted to ask you, you know, America's Pawpaw, Joe, he done dropped out the race and everything, so they endorsing Harris. And so I want to ask you, was you voting for who looked like you? Nah, you ain't gotta answer that.
Don't make people answer that.
I don't want nobody to get mad at you though, but but it's kind of you know, I see the climate people, you know, on Facebook, social media, that's pointing toward the direction of, okay, this person looks like me, so this, or it's tied to their emotions about the history of this country or whatever, or this. They're looking at it as, oh, this is an advancement of our people, so to speak. So,
right.
To me, that's kind of on the boundaries, tiptoeing into the racial idolatry. So, but yeah, we gonna get into it. But I wanted to just kind of joke around with that right quick. But
trying to get people in trouble already.
But to me, you know, a lot of people they're not looking at things based on what's right and wrong or what's righteous, unrighteous. It's just, okay, this person looked like me or whatever. And that's maybe the swaying me in the direction I want to go. So, I guess we could start off just by saying, like, we can get into let's just define idolatry and then racial idolatry or ethnic idolatry. So let's just kind of hit on that right quick.
That's good. I think that's a good starting point. Talking about, you know, idolatry, a lot of people have, you know, different mindsets on exactly what that means. I know for myself personally, like anything that I put before or in the place of Almighty God, it could be anything, you know. At times past, it was myself,
right?
You know, being honest, you know. I was putting me first, and I was telling him to co-sign the check. You know, I just write them left and right. Here you go, co-sign. You know, he like, man, co-sign that. That's gonna bounce like a rubber basketball. You know what I'm saying? You know, but you know, if we get into you know, the Bible. You know, look at it. Basically, you know, the Bible has a lot to say about idolatry,
right?
And so I guess we'll start there with the groundwork of just breaking that down and understanding what the Bible says about it. Just throwing out a few scriptures that include idolatry or idol in them. One is 1 John 5:21. Keep yourselves from idols. So I guess before we can understand idolatry, we got to understand what an idol is. And once again, it's anything that you can create that can do, or that someone else even can manufacture, that you can put in the place of the Almighty God, or that you can have it as such a point of reference that you worship it as if it were a God-like figure in your life. We can do it with our sports teams.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You know, go Cowboys. I love them, but you know, I'm not gonna be like, oh, you're a Commanders fan? I can't even talk to you. Like, you know, I kind of feel that way jokingly, but not for real, for real. You know, I had to cut some folk off if I did. You know what I'm saying? But you know what, it's so easy to create one and not even realize it. Like I say, starting even with your own self. So what you got on there, bro?
I pretty much word for word, like anything that we put into place or to replace God, or you know, like you said, it could be ourselves, it could be our children, it could be a job, it can be money, it's just a whole long list of stuff. Anything that, you know, takes away our devotion and worship towards God.
Yes.
Period. And I like the way Tony Evans put it. You know, he said it was idol is it's always gonna be a noun, person, place, or thing.
Yes, so, or an idea,
right? Or,
which is what we facing with political stuff.
Right.
Yes, sir.
So so you spot on with everything you were saying, and even though like you said, even jokingly, like, you know, people don't think about it. And I like how you said, you know, people sometimes they may not even realize it, but you're creating, or we can create these idols. And then gradually, I think they just start to replace, either for people who not even saved, they just become their God altogether. And then even for believers, you know, we making stray off that these things gradually can become to where they replacing our worship and our devotion to God himself.
Yes.
And I say this even in ministry, like if somebody doing ministry, you could become so focused on the doing of the ministry that you lack in the actual relationship with the God you say the ministry for.
Facts.
So,
and you create that idol in that, man. I'll tell you something else too. Well, two things. For one, you know, looking at I want to get AI's definition of idolatry. It's actually pretty good. Idolatry is the worship of something or someone other than God as if it were God. And it can take many forms. So that's actually pretty good. Pretty good definition. Good job, AI. But also, man, you know, just going back to referencing the sports teams, because that was one of the first idolatry or idolatrous, I don't even know if that's the word, situations, idol situations that God had to check me on. Even as in an early state of my life as a teenager. I'm a huge Tar Heel fan, but I was about rap. And I remember we were playing Duke, man, and it was people might remember it was like a double overtime game way back in the day. I think Jeff Capel was in the game.
Say Jeff Capel hit that shot. I remember that.
Bruh, I punched a hole in the wall in my room, and it was like, first of all, I had to deal with my daddy. I don't want to talk about that too tough. But then it's like I had to deal with my spiritual father. You know, it's like, wait a minute, hold on. You mean to tell me that something other than God, family, and self got you so emotionally involved in it that you actually did physical harm to something? You know what I'm saying? I was like, dang, that's deeper than what it should be. But I was taking it there, you know. And so I started to have a different perspective. And then he had to grow me up some more in my 20s even, you know, because I still would get into banter back and forth. And I remember one time I posted something on my Facebook page and two other brothers was going in on my page. I was like, I don't know what to do, you know, but it was just schooling me on how wrapped up we get into this stuff and we take it personal. Even if you went to school there, it still shouldn't be personal.
It shouldn't be that deep.
You know, it shouldn't be that deep. And so, you know, you're putting something in a place that, once again, this is how the Lord deals with me on things. It's like outside of God himself, my family, and then myself, nothing should drive me in any direction emotionally.
I love that.
You know what I'm saying? And that's tough when you think about it, But when you really start to weed through your life, you realize, okay, there are other things outside of those factors that drive me emotionally, but they shouldn't.
Right.
Not even your job at the end of the day. Like, you should be able to see that as for what it is. That's the means and method by which God allows me to feed my family, take care of my situations or whatever. And if it's truly the way we say, when we be throwing out these Christian sayings, you know, one door closed, another one open, you know. Yeah, I hear you till that door closed. You know what I mean? You really, you gonna lay me off? You know what I mean? But it's like, okay, if we really have that mindset, then we realize that is a source tool that God can use. And if he's done using it, then okay, then the thing is, then seek him on what's the next phase for your life or whatever it may be, you know, the next door that he's gonna open. So you shouldn't drive off a bridge if you lose your job. You shouldn't jump off a building if you lose. You shouldn't go home and kill your whole family and kill yourself if you lost a job. You know, that means that it has an emotional stronghold on you, which means it's to me, in my eyes, it's an idol of some kind. You know what I'm saying? So same thing with anything, you know, money, anything that you make money off of, you know, whether it be a job or a side hustle, whatever. And then how we get with social media, we build these reputations and we create for ourselves an idol. And then we get mad if somebody comes after that reputation a certain way or post something we don't like. You know how we get, bro. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead, I see you got something. Touch on it.
What you were saying right there at the end, like, it could get to a point to where I start to defend me instead of defending
the kingdom, the gospel.
The kingdom, the gospel, and the faith. You know, instead of having that drive, that passion to defend just the truth and the faith, it becomes about me because I put myself up in a place above God. You know what I'm saying? And I like the point you hit on about the emotions, because that's really, you know, especially, you know, we ain't really got into it yet, but with the, you know, with the racial stuff, those emotions tied back to, you know, the history or the experiences that certain people went through. And then, you know, so I was sitting here thinking about this today. I was talking to my wife. I'm like, dang, girl, you know, I was born in 1983. And some people say, you know, the country ain't this and ain't that, which, you know, they got their right to an opinion. Right. Like, since I've been here, you know, 1983 to now, though, it's been pretty good
you
for
know
me.
what I'm saying?
You know what I'm saying?
Especially compared.
And not to have a lack of compassion about what happened to, you know, our ancestors, but we shouldn't be so tied and emotionally charged and holding on to that it becomes so overwhelming that it dominates everything we think about.
I'm about to say something that you've heard before, but it's probably going to hit just a little bit different. Anything that you hold on to from the past, you will take with you to your future.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's good.
You know what I'm saying? It's a simple thing. We've heard, you know, in different ways, we've heard it before. But when you really break it down, you're like, man, do I really want to take this into the future? Or do I want to leave it in the past? I can learn from it without bringing it with me. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes we want to dwell on something, or we want some type of you know, restitution for something. And at the end of the day, if your daddy slapped me and your daddy is no longer here to defend himself or whatever, I can't show up on your doorstep and be like, I'm going to slap you because your daddy slapped me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Then your little son going to sit over there in the corner and be like, soon as I'm old enough, I'm going to their house and I'm going to slap me somebody.
That's good.
Now, we done went generation just slapping folk. You know what I'm saying? It's really not that complex when you really break it down. It's simple. And then when you see how simple it is, it's really unintelligent of us.
It is.
You know what I'm saying? As much as we call ourselves, especially in this day and age, the age of technology, as much as we, in the age of knowledge, as some would say, as much as we call ourselves smart and even spiritually inclined, we should be smart enough to see that. You know what I'm saying? But for some reason, and we know what the reason is, at the end of the day, the enemy has the same tricks that he's been using forever and ever, you know, and those things are you know, pride of life, which at the end of the day, that's the quickest way to idolatry, is when you're taking pride either in yourself or in something that gives you that feeling that you have. some type of edge.
You preaching, bro.
You know what I'm saying? Go ahead, bro. Go ahead. Get in there with me.
Well, just to swing back too, though,
yeah.
When we was talking about, when we was defining it,
yes.
I think that we can't leave out, the one true God.
Oh,
it's like, because,
yes,
some people, God's just generic to them. So it, God is just generic. They can be talking about it like the Romans. They worshiping grass and trees and frogs.
That's a vacuum attachment. That's what that is.
We talking about to the one true God. And then I like what you said about, the source and the resource. Like, for example, the job you use, that's always just the resource. We got to understand the minute we start thinking that something else is the source, that start leading to idolatry.
Yes,
right.
sir. Big time quote right there.
Yes, sir.
Big time quote. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And you know what I'm saying? Like I say, you talked about, how we throw around even the terminology of God and who he is in a sense. But if you really have him in his true place, he has to be the source.
Right.
Just a few Sundays ago, I was talking about, he can't just be another tool in the bag. He has to be the bag.
Right.
You have to go into him in order to get the tools that you need. You know what I'm saying? He can't just be, because otherwise we'll put him in, take him out, put him in, take him out.
Whenever we want.
You know what I'm saying? We'll break something, then choose him as the tool to fix it. You know what I'm saying? Instead of being like, okay, God, I need to go to you to fix anything in my life. And you have to be the source for everything to make sure that everything in my life is working properly.
Right.
So if the tool doesn't come out of your bag, then it's not coming out of the right bag. Even a bag that I may have used to carry around myself when I used to fix stuff on my own, based on my own knowledge, my own wisdom and understanding. But when I meet you, okay, now I got a whole different bag. So, matter of fact, I had to take some of my tools and just throw them somewhere. Get rid of them. Far as I, get away from them as far as I can. Because while they felt like they worked, when I found a new way and understood a new way of doing things and a new way of even looking at them, now all of a sudden I realized, man, I was way off.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Way off. And so it's to my advantage to allow God to be God in my life, and for him to fix the things in my life. And then, like I say, that's when he started to deal with me on those idols. But even when I use that terminology of, family is going to get an emotional response, and then self, but still none of that is above God. He's still first and foremost.
Right.
Because, if something goes on with my wife or my children, of course that's going to merit an emotional response from me. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm tied, I'm connected to it. As a matter of fact, they are a part of me, and then, of course, if something happens to me directly, I'm going to have an emotional response. But even that response, either with them or with myself, still has to be governed by the Almighty God. He still has to be the one that brings the increase, so to speak, or the understanding and wisdom of where we should go from there, wherever there is, wherever we may be in the situation.
Right.
So yeah, bro. So of course that's all gravy, but give us some more, man, because you got some more.
Well, let me hit on something you just said too about the response. So it's a difference between the response in the moment and then just living in that. You know what I'm saying? Like living in that emotion.
Yes.
Can't just continue. We wired for emotion. We gonna have the responses to certain situations, but the problem comes when we continue living in those emotions and we can't get past all this and that. So, and I want to, what you was talking about, the bag and the tool, like I heard on 106.9, it was talking, it was somebody teaching, they was talking about far as prayer, don't treat God like a spare tire. You know what I'm saying? Don't just pull him out when it's convenient, when you need to fix the tire. Oh, you never thought about this spare tire until you needed it.
That's right.
Don't treat him like the spare tire. You treat him as if he is everything. He's the whole vehicle.
He is the vehicle. That's right.
Everything.
That's right. That's right.
And I was cracking jokes earlier about the election and people how that, but I wanted, because I know it's gonna be people out here that's gonna talk about denouncing Christianity. So we got to address kind of like the elephant about, how slavery, white supremacy, those people going to come up with that. They going to reject it because of that. So I wanted to ask you, how would you respond to that? Because I think that kind of pushes some people into racial idolatry when they can't understand or distinguish between you know, the errors that was made,
Mm-hmm.
people using scripture to try to justify their racial idolatry.
Right.
So now they're mad and they holding all this animosity. So that pushed them to reject everything that has to do with the actual truth.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just want to ask, how would you respond to somebody that would say, oh, well, I don't want nothing to do with that because of the past, you know, the slavery and all that?
I mean, it's a different day, same gun.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You can't get mad because and upset and play victim because someone at some point picked the gun up and shot and killed people that you know and love.
Right.
But then you turn around and take that same gun and justify you doing the same thing to them. You know, in the underhanded way, that's what the enemy is doing. He's just using the same weaponry, but he's just got a new power source with that weaponry. You know, it was at one point in time people that didn't look like us, and he was using them to manipulate the things of the Most High God. Now he is using us to create a means to weaponize the same stuff. You know what I'm saying? In order to now the biggest shoe is on my foot. You know what I'm saying? And you're the issue. You're the problem.
Right.
You know, so when I break it down and I listen, I'm like, okay, I don't hear the heart of the Most High God, you know, at its core in either way, in either position.
Right. Yeah.
I see a people that is saying, you know what, I want the power. Or I'm tired of being ruled over.
Right,
So now things are shifting, and I feel like narratives are being created in order to justify that argument, if you will, or to justify that positioning, if you will. And so now people are thinking and moving in terms of that, and they're counting that to one and another as righteousness, looking at it as, you know, this was God's will all along. And I'm looking like, anything that puts me in a compromising position based on something that I can't control, meaning my skin color, my birth, I don't see how an almighty, all-powerful creator would put me in that position that I didn't control it and then hold that against me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? How can you be this once again almighty, all-powerful, all-loving Savior, and, you know, creator, and you created me with a disadvantage already in my life.
Right.
You know, when you understand what the word is telling us, is showing us that, yeah, there was a chosen lineage of people, but that chosen lineage of people was to carry out the work. It was not to be the work.
Right.
It was to carry out the work. We are all a part of the work, all of us. That's why we have to be, you know, we call the show joint heirs. You know, that's why we have to be saved and accept that, you know, God into our lives, Jesus into our lives, Yahshua into our lives, so that we can then become a part of and accept it as the family that we were already a part of in creation.
Right.
You know, so we're accepting what has been done for us so that we can then walk with our Father. All of us have that right, every last one of us. So even if people that look like me and you are a part of that chosen lineage, our responsibility is to still carry out the gospel.
Right.
That's our responsibility. That doesn't give us a leg up to be able to look at anyone and say, you're the reason why there's evil in the world. No, evil is in the world because of sin. And if it happened with the first woman and man, and we're saying that we're the original lineage, that means it happened with us first.
Right, exactly.
We're the bearers of responsibility right there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, so how can we then say, well, because these things happen throughout life and throughout time and history, now we want to point the finger of blame at another nationality or another race of people or another skin color, skin tone, you know what I'm saying, and ethnic group, and then say, well, they're the reason why certain evils are present or certain things are the way they are. I think the problem is sin.
Right.
And I think sin is the culprit. And because sin is the culprit, the enemy that was the originator of rebellion is the one who is then using sin and using whatever skin that will allow itself to be used in order to carry sin out.
Right.
Yes,
That's
sir.
good talk, man. Because like what you were saying about sin, because I thought about James 1:14, which says that, you know, that it's our own desires, our own evil desires that put us into these temptations. So whether it be, like you said, whether it be back, you know, one ethnic group that did it back then, and then now that, okay, some people say, well, it's only justifiable that we return the favor, so to speak. Now, both of them wrong, and when you break it down biblically, because like you said, the sin is the issue. It ain't the skin, it's the sin.
That's right.
So we approach everything with truth and righteousness.
That's right.
I'm not looking at somebody's skin color to say, oh, well, yeah, that person is evil because they a part of that group. They did that to our people back then. So that's just like today, if whatever ethnic group, a cop was whatever race or ethnic group, and he pulls over one person that's another ethnic group, and then everything from then on, his whole perception is that entire ethnic group is bad.
That's
or
right.
wrong.
That's right.
So nobody in their right mind gonna agree with that's right.
That's right.
But when you put it, but they're trying to flip it in biblical terms to say it's right.
No, none of them ever had a tag updated. That whole ethnic group. Now, there's a lot of us. I will admit. There's quite a few of us.
Right.
But it's not all.
and just like you were saying, evil is evil. It's going to be every ethnic group, every race, every generation, everything. And then those who are not redeemed by Christ, I ain't gonna say it don't matter, but like they aren't in, they haven't been justified anyway. So you can't just say it's just that group when it might be the person blaming the other group. They ain't even in Christ themselves. So they looking at this group and being self-righteous, got the whole beam log in their eye, pointing at them. They ain't even got no room to talk or get nothing out of nobody else's
Zero.
Eye. Right. But it's them, it's that. So I think you said something about this earlier, though. We look at ourselves, we look and I examine me first.
That's right.
I don't go pointing fingers at everybody else or at a group of people because their ancestors did this or that. But, people. And I like what you was talking about with the gun because I had something I was gonna say about that because in the hands of a law-abiding, responsible citizen, a gun might be a good thing.
That's right.
But if you give it to somebody with bad intentions who got an evil, wicked heart, ain't no telling what they gonna do with it.
That's right.
So you can't. So we know that people misused the Bible back then. So you can't throw away the Bible because of human error, and then. Today, the same thing. When they trying to flip it, they can't do. It's the same difference. Like nobody can do that.
You to be anything that causes you to create preconceived notions about anybody. To me, that's the root for wickedness to take place in your heart.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that temptation there.
Yeah,
and then that's when it when it says. Evil desires, and then this gives birth to sin, and sin gives birth to death. It leads to death. So that opens the door for it. That opens the door for the devil to. He sees somebody weak-minded, emotional about a certain thing. Yeah, he gonna play on that. He got the game footage in there. He watching everybody's tape. Oh, this what triggered him? Okay.
Yep.
So let me do this.
I'm gonna use it every single time. If we sitting in a camp together, man, we got our families in that camp. And you already have a preconceived notion about, what a certain ethnic group is or is not about. And we need aid to come into that camp. You look from afar off and you see who's got the so-called aid, right? But now, your wisdom has taken over, now I'm not going to be no fool, and before they can even approach the gate, boom, you done shot and took them out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That could have been the very blessing that God had for us, the very vessel that he had for whatever he needed to get to us, to come to us. But because of whatever's in your heart, or your mind towards that individual, you already have a judgment in place, and boom, you execute that judgment. Right. The way I like to approach things is I like to have my spiritual guard up regardless.
Right.
But I'm not shooting. I just have my guard up and I'm looking to see, okay, Lord, lead me and guide me to let me know, is this friend or foe? I'm not preconceived, with a preconceived notion looking like, okay, they might be a foe because they look different to me, or they might be friend because they look like me.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? No, I'm like, Lord, lead me and guide me to let me know, is this you? Because if it's you, they might not even be for me, but you still make sure it works out for my good. There might still be purpose there. You know what I'm saying? Or if they definitely are for me, then I won't get in the way of your process, Lord. So I attack it the same way each and every time, because I know and understand what I'm dealing with at the end of the day is not the flesh, even though we have, you know, we are dealing to a certain degree, but there's deeper things than the flesh. So if I just get caught up in the flesh, then I'm already at a weak point in my own eyes. I'm at a weak spot because I have a blind spot when it comes to what I see. Right. That's even when a person pulls up and they may have, we were talking in the men's conference the other day, they might pull up with tattoos and, you know what I'm saying, smelling like weed or whatever, and, you know, baggy clothes, whatever, you know, not baggy clothes these days, everything tight, but, you know, whatever they look like, you know what I'm saying? They look different than me. I can't all of a sudden be like, oh man, let me put my guard up as if I'm going to make sure, like, no, let me be discerning regardless. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking for you, God, regardless. That's why when he says he didn't give us a spirit of fear, that's how you can operate like that, because you're not putting things in your own mind that say you should be fearful of these things or you should be mindful even of these things. No, you see it, but it doesn't hold you hostage because you're trying to get to whatever it is that God has for you in the situation. It might be the witness right there. It might be to go the other way. Right, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But you're looking for God and you're not just looking at the outward appearance.
Yeah, man. Because I like what you were saying about the when we had these perceptions or whatever, these perceived decisions basically we done made.
Yep.
Right. That I like how you saying the blind spots, because it do. And I was about to ask you a question, but you kind of gave me the solutions beforehand. So I'm just piggyback on it. Because that's the issues with it, you know, the racial idolatry, that it creates these blind spots, or it makes people actually just blind and in the dark. Like if you just going off of what you think you know about somebody or how you view somebody, or just because you see something on TV that you may not like this person, or you heard, so, you know, in today's media, people can say whatever.
Yep.
Put it on social media. Yep. Social media worse than the news. You know what I'm saying? Like, so they come up with if somebody wants you canceled, they can say what. And a lot of times now in the climate we in, all they gotta say, you're racist.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Yep. That boom, you cancel.
Yep.
Like, you know, or you
anti this, anti that.
That's about to say. Or you anti this or that. So and even beyond racial idolatry, we do that, just like you were saying with the, you know, what y'all was talking about, the men's conference. We do that. It puts us in a spot to where we can't even operate in truth. We can't operate from the biblical worldview because we have these guards up, or we have these things that's going to divide people. Yep. When our job, our responsibility is to be bringing people into the kingdom. And we putting up barriers and stuff like, oh, well, this person ain't fit or they ain't worthy, when they deserve the same grace that we got, right? You know what I'm saying? So,
man, I'm gonna tell you something, man. One thing that I learned from the COVID situation that I really saw, that really taught me a lesson about where we are as a whole, as a people. There's a lot of idolatry within us ourselves when it comes to our own lives. You know, Bible talks about he who seeks to gain his life shall lose it, but he who seeks to lose his life for my sake. That's when you really gain it. And that whole process helped me to understand it on a whole new level, because I was watching people who were family members, church members, community members who had love for one another, totally fall out on the basis of what one or the other chose or chose not to do concerning their own body. Right. And not only that, but I saw people, I saw the realization that at the end of the day, people, if they fear that something is possibly going to affect their life, they are quicker than I'm comfortable than I was comfortable with, honestly, as a body of believers. In general, this is not everybody, but in general, people are quicker to dismiss things of faith in order to then go into a mode to you know, explain or either explain away certain actions to preserve life, right? Instead of it being a faith thing, you know, because even the people that were making the arguments, my thing was, I was, once again, when I'm talking about people of faith, I was looking for your faith. I'm trying to hear how you are justifying your actions based on your belief system. Because at the end of the day, that's what it should be about. I was hearing people justify it on the basis of what the scientists were saying, you know, quote unquote medical experts, which I'm not going to get into how much all of that's been tossed all over the place. But just knowing that that's where some people were basing their heart and their mindset. And at the end of the day, what I looked at and saw was on both sides of the spectrum, some that took it, some that didn't. It was fear. Mostly, you know, well, no, I can't say that. It was both sides because some people weren't taking over fear and then some people were taking it over fear. But I'm looking for faith. That's what I was looking for. And because it was divided like that, people were falling out with one another. And you know, and at the end of the day, it was like, well, why are they falling out? I don't understand. And then, you know, the Lord showed me very plain and clear. It's like, because there's fear that has set in. Because if it was on the basis of faith, there are things that people in the faith disagree on, but they're still able to come together and enjoy brotherhood. You know what I'm saying? And not be divided. But in this case, because fear has set in, it was like, because you didn't make the same decision as me, I see you as a threat to my well-being, to my health and well-being. So I have to fall out with you, disconnect with you, stay away from you, even see you as an idiot and an enemy. People were calling each other idiots and you know, and creating enemies within each other. Simply because a decision was made different than the other person. But when I looked at it, I was like, it makes sense, Lord. Because if I fear something, then I'm going to go as far to whatever extreme I need to in order to protect myself from it. Because I'm scared of it. So if that means getting ugly towards you, pushing you, shunning you away, or trying to belittle you and shame you and make you feel like you're wrong until you do what I've done, then I'm going to do exactly that. Because at the end of the day, I'm not leaning on faith. I'm being driven by fear. And I said, man, if it's that, it's not that that's so simple, but if all it takes is for something to come into our society that is different than the norm, for us to be shaken like that, particularly the body of believers, how strong was our faith to begin with? And how big of an idol did we look at in the mirror instead of looking at the true and living God?
That's good, bro. And I was about to ask you something about, you know, how could this idolatry stuff be harmful to the body? And how does it hinder evangelism and discipleship? But I think, you know, what you were just saying, you hit right on the head, you know what I'm saying? Because it does, especially emotions. So I'm gonna say fear is part of emotion. So people get, I guess we can say, if they are looking at themselves in an idolatrous way, and then it becomes, well, if this person don't agree with me about what I think, then I can toss them aside. I don't have to stand on Christian doctrine. I don't have to operate, you know,
in love.
Bear with one another in love. I don't have to, you know, serve each other in love, look out for the best interests of somebody else, or, you know, come together in spiritual songs, sing hymns and all that. So instead of doing that, I start to operate off of, well, they didn't see it the way I saw it. So now they stupid and idiot, and I don't even like them no more. When yesterday, 2 weeks ago, was all, hold Tito, turn to your neighbor and give him a hug and love him and say you're telling me this and that. And you just did it quick as you could. Now, one little thing, one little thing. And it took, like you said, that one little thing that came in there and just changed the whole perspective. And I see that now. I see it's gonna happen with this election.
Yes, sir.
It's gonna happen with this
election. It's already started.
It's already done started because I see people already picking sides or whatever. And for what I'm saying, me and my wife talk about it all the time because, like, I don't sit there. I always run stuff by her, and I'm always, you know, if it's something that I know we need to talk about, so we on one accord. We standing together. Now, if she coming back and say, you know, well, the Bible say this, I believe it, you know, we gonna talk it out.
We're gonna rock it. That's right.
If it's something that I can see that may become problematic or whatever, But me and her been talking a lot about this, and you know, we got people that we know I'm saying I don't. But my thing is, I'm coming from a biblical perspective.
That's right. That's right.
Like, I'm not just saying, oh, I don't like that candidate because of X, Y, Z. I'm coming from a biblical perspective. That's what I'm trying to get other people to see. I'm not arguing with nobody. I'm not trying to tell them who to vote for. But I'm saying, when I lay these people out, whose policies or whose actions line up with biblical doctrine?
That's right.
Who's closer to that?
That's right.
Regardless of how I feel or what I've heard or what I see, skin color or whatever, what policies, because and this is something I've been trying to work on a video for it. Unrighteous and righteous judgment. You know, in John 7:24, Jesus said, don't judge by appearance, you judge with a righteous judgment.
That's right.
So I think a lot of people are just using their own metric system to say, well, I don't like it because of this, but it ain't even righteous. And I'm be honest, I had to check myself because I had a talk with my mentor. It was so crazy because I didn't tell him anything specific. We were just discussing something, and he was like, well, you know, when you line it up, you look at a biblical perspective, this person hasn't done this, this, and this against the church, against the Bible, against God, where maybe these other people have. So I had to check myself and like, dang, Holy Spirit hit me, was convicting. It's like, man, that's really unrighteous judgment what I've been doing because I haven't really looked through it through biblical. Like, much as I say, you know, I got a biblical worldview and all that. Sometimes, like you said earlier, we get to the point to where we operating off of, you know, how we feel that it becomes, it's not biblical, but we operating off of I and me.
Yep.
So I was like, man, I really have been judging this person based upon outside factors and not taking, you know, not from the perspective of the Christ I follow or the God I believe in. So, like I said, it's coming. Like you said, it's already here.
That's right.
People starting to split off, but what I feel like is gonna get real nasty.
Oh yeah,
it's gonna get really nasty.
It's gonna get nasty. And listen, what we all have to understand is, at the end of the day, we are dealing with a very wicked world. You know what I'm saying? We are dealing with a very wicked world, and this wicked world that we're dealing with, it's a system, you know, that we're dealing with. And regardless of whichever path that it takes, at the end of the day, it's an enemy behind the system.
Right.
And that enemy is going to go through a red door or a blue door.
Yeah,
so you falling out with people based on the color of the door is not going to help or make the situation any better or any worse at the end of the day, really. Well, no, it will make it worse because you're falling out with people.
Right.
But it's not going to make it any better, definitely. But you have to understand, when you're coming from a kingdom perspective, you see that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with the flawed, tainted, wicked system.
Yeah.
There's only one king that's going to rule and straighten things out. And until he returns, we're dealing with men and women who are wicked in the heart at the end of the day, that are driven by people who are also wicked and have agendas. So when it's on either side, for you to sit and dismiss other people who basically are following the same system that you're following, just like I say, either going through one door or the other, what's on the other side of the door is what we need to understand. And that is not going to necessarily change because the system at the end of the day is not going to change. There's only one being that can do that. And unless someone gets in there that is truly submerged themselves in the Spirit of God and truly has Christ in their heart and is being led by the Savior, then what we're going to have is a means to an end that is similar. It's just a different road to get there. It's just a different path to get there. You know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, when we start to recognize that, then that's when we can really, you know, focus in and take ourselves out of it and stop beating each other up over it.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So I got a question. Let me see. So how important is it as a believer? Because for some people, this might be tough because, you know, they want to relate to their ethnic group. But, you know, if you've been born again, your identity is in Christ.
That's right.
So how important is it to get that proper perspective or of that worldview, whichever worldview, to separate those worldviews of discipleship or biblical worldview versus the ethnic group perspective? Because, like I said, you know, if we're born again, then my identity now, I do identify as a black man, but I'm a follower of Christ first. That's what I believe. I should make my decisions based upon, am I a follower of Christ? So to give an example, like back when was that, last year, when the little boat brawl? Right? Yep. So I saw people coming out saying like, oh yeah, this is a win for black people, this and that. And you know what I'm saying? Like, this was the best thing since sliced bread for black people. And, you know, I don't know personally Christians or people who claim to be Christian. Well, it's a lot of people who claim to be Christian. I don't know none personally that was, you know, scrolling Facebook, you see comments, but like, it was people saying things like that, but okay, you're claiming Christian. So what's righteous about a lady getting her head busted with a metal chair, regardless of what race she is? You know what I'm saying? Like, what side are you coming from looking at?
That's right.
And even like with these, you know, the police shootings. Well, you know, I'm not trying to have a lack of compassion, but it's gonna always be people who they're not gonna get the facts or the truth. They just gonna automatically, oh, that happened. That's what they do to us because they you know, white cops, all this and that. But every cop ain't white.
That's right.
And every cop ain't bad.
That's right.
So again,
but every sin is a sin.
Right. And then, you know, and then sometimes it's unjustified, and sometimes they doing their job. They protecting themselves, and they got to make it home to their family just like you would want to make it home to yours. So, but when people just jump in there and be like, oh yeah, see, that's what they're white people. That's all they do. This and that. So like, how important is it for us as believers to have that line, so to speak, drawn with the proper perspective?
Extremely important. You know, I look at it like this, man. Think about it like this. One thing we don't do as much as we used to as a society, we don't read and write as much as we used to. Technology has stolen that kind of, in a sense, away from us. Think about the incident that just happened. That's the elephant in the room, you know, so to speak. Let's just talk about it to a certain degree. The young lady was unfortunately shot and killed by the police in her home. Right. Let's put it all on paper, and let's leave colors out. Right.
Exactly.
Let's just read a story. Let's just read the words and say these were true events. Make your judgment based on the words on the page.
Man, that's the excellent point.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And when you do it like that, you come to the realization that you don't have to create lines and barriers based on race, ethnicity, all that stuff, you know, even you know, status and all that stuff. What you have to base your decisions on and what you do is right and wrong.
Right.
And when you read the story, you can sit there and say, that seems like it was a little excessive and extreme.
Right.
Regardless of who, you know, what ethnic group was in whatever position, because that could have easily been a white lady, a Chinese lady, you know what I'm saying, a Mexican cop, or a black cop, you know what I mean? It was an officer of the law who probably should have made way better choices and decisions on excessive force.
Definitely should have made.
You see what I'm saying, bro? Yeah. You know what I mean? But what we do is we want to see the video and we want to analyze what we see. And then because things have already been spoon-fed to us media-wise, we all of a sudden already in our feelings before we even, like you say, get any facts as far as all the details behind whatever situation it is. We just, let me see it, and then let me judge it based on how I see it. That's the only thing I want to, and then when I see it, it's going to make me feel a certain way, and that's the only thing I want to consider. Right. But if we take just a moment and say, man, if I was just to read this, how would I look at it differently? You know what I'm saying? when I look at things biblically, that's the first thing that God checks my heart on is, how are you looking at this? And then if something is coming that is not like me, where did it come from? Where did you get that from? You didn't get it from me.
Right.
So if you didn't get it from me, but it's there, then you need to give it to me so I can take care of it. And I can get rid of it out of your life, because it doesn't have a place in your life, because it's going to be, like you said earlier, one of those blind spots. But yes, extremely important for us to understand and how to separate and really look at things the right way.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
We got, like, it's no exception. We have to, if you say you read this Bible, believe it, apply it, we have to draw that line.
110.
Of is this, like you said, is it good or evil? Is it right or wrong? Is it righteous or unrighteous? And I love that, what you said about just writing it down. No colors, no ethnic groups, no, none of that. Just if this was a man and a woman, or a cop, somebody in authority, whatever, just a cop and a woman, then you judge it by that. Not, like you said, because the media gonna spoon feed, they gonna build their narratives, and they gonna convince you that this is what it is before you even get to it.
That's for facts.
And then, because now only thing you're gonna do is click it to confirm your emotions.
Yes.
Right. And just so you have a reason to get mad and go do this or do that. But when we look at it from that righteous perspective, see, because the Bible talks about unjust scales, talks about how God is a God of justice. Yeah, he's gonna make things right in the end. It may not be when you want it. And I think that's what hinders a lot of people too about, the history and all that. Oh, it's our turn now. We got it now. We got the whip now.
Yeah.
But
and now you're whooping. Good, great.
But he's gonna do stuff in his time.
That's right.
Right. And then we know when Christ come back, then all evil is gonna be dealt with. So for us to lose focus of that,
man, bro.
You know what I'm saying? For us to lose focus of that over some sinful nature men anyway.
Yes.
This is what they're not doing anything that we wouldn't expect them to do.
Facts.
Right. So like that, man, it's so,
what you just said.
It seems so simple.
Yep.
But like you said, the devil, like you said, when he come in and God say, that ain't of me, he makes it to where he gonna confuse you.
That's right.
He gonna do all the things that he do to turn you from there. He gonna try to trick you, push them buttons, because he know.
Man, what you just said just hit me like a ton of bricks, man. Now we got the whip. I don't want my fingerprints on the whip.
Right.
I just don't. Somebody got to be the one to say, this is the problem. The whip. The whip is the problem.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be humble enough, and I'm going to be, a willing vessel enough to allow God to use me to be the one to say, nobody gets beat anymore.
Right.
This does not belong. Just because it's in my hands doesn't make it right and righteous now. Right. It's still a whip. It still does the destroying of humanity that it did, whether it was hitting my back or whether it's now hitting your back. I don't want my fingerprints on the whip, bro.
That's deep.
You know what I'm saying?
You made me think about the meek shall inherit the earth.
Yes, sir.
Because meekness is power under control.
Yes, sir.
As when I could do something to you.
Yeah.
But because I believe who I believe in and I live the way I live because of him, I choose not to do that. Facts. So that I love what you just said. Like, just put it down. We're going to be problem solvers. We're going to be peacemakers.
That's right.
Not hell raisers.
That's right.
So
that's right. That's right. And there's power in the peacemaking, right? There's power in the peacemaking. There's power in being able to be the ones that God can utilize in order to bring his righteousness into the earth. That's what he's looking for. He's not looking for people that can whip. He's not looking for people that can control and dominate and manipulate. He's looking for people that can love. He's looking for people that can, like you said, solve problems. He's looking for people that can reflect him on the earth. Everybody wants power. You know why? Because when you're powerful, you're least likely to get trampled over. You're least likely to be dealt with in an unfair manner. Once again, it goes back to the spirit of fear. You're scared because you don't want to be in a situation where somebody has authority over you and is able to do something to you that you don't want done to you. So it's like you going from being bullied to now I'm going to be the bully. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm scared. I'm tired of getting beat up. We've gotten beat up for so long. Now we're going to do the beating, you know? No, I'm trying to see how can the Most High come into a situation and get the bully out of the room. Because at the end of the day, whether you're bully or victim, if you really pull back the covers, we're all victims of one thing, and that's sin. You know, we're victims of a fallen state, a fallen world, a fallen nature. And because of that, our enemy is using that to keep us fighting amongst each other and fighting against God instead of fighting with each other and fighting with God and understanding the pure beauty of coming together as his creation. You know what I'm saying? If he did this thing, I mean, just imagine you walking down the street and people like, man, what's wrong with that joker? Because your left side and your right side fighting. Like you kicking your left leg with the right leg, and then you kicking the right leg with the left leg, and you pulling one side of your hair with one arm and the other. And people are like, man, this joker is crazy. Yeah, he is crazy. Because what should be happening is his body should be functioning as a well-oiled machine, each part doing its part that it was, its function that it was built for, that it was purposed for. But instead, what's happening is it's fighting against itself, and it looks crazy. And the rest of the world is some of them are biting the same apple, unfortunately. Fig, whatever you want to say. You know what I'm saying? And we're taking that wickedness into other parts of the world, or being influencers for that wickedness in other parts of the world. But man, we could actually, as a nation, be the trendsetters for the Most High God to move like never before. And I feel like in some points in this whole thing, we were, in a sense, at some times. Some of the most powerful world evangelists came from this country. You know what I'm saying? And they didn't have thoughts of, you know, what you look like. They had thoughts of who you come from and who you were created.
Who you belong to.
That's right, who you belong to. Exactly. But yeah, bro, man, you hit something when you said that.
And I like what you were saying about, you know, the unity, because, you know, wherever you came from, you know, we all got a past, we all got testimony, you know, we all came up different, or, you know, whether it's this ethnic group, that ethnic group. But when we all come together, unified, that's the beauty of the kingdom. That's what makes the kingdom attractive to outsiders, when they can see, okay, they not even operating like these black and white, Chinese, Asians, and Mexicans. They just act like they just family.
That's it.
You know what I'm saying? So that's the beauty of the king. That's the attractiveness of the kingdom, really. That's how we should be operating, in that righteousness and all of that, everything that comes included with that love, that peace, that joy that you get. That's just like I got, man, it's this older guy that worked with me, white man, his name Larry. That's my dog, man. That's he believed the same thing I believe. He's a Christian. I believe I see him living it, walking it out on his job. He don't go around stirring up stuff, because he crack jokes now. We should crack some jokes, but you know, he ain't nasty. He ain't. You know what I'm saying? I don't know where he came from, but I can tell who he belonged to.
That's it.
You know what I'm saying?
That's it.
And then you made me think about something else when you was talking about, you know, the power of when you know, I mentioned the whip. Napoleon Bonaparte got a quote. He said that him, Alexander, Caesar, all them, they conquered the world by force. Jesus Christ conquered it with love.
That's it.
Man, I'm like, boy, that thing right there hit hard.
That, man,
yes, sir. And for him to say that, now I don't believe I believe he may have had a form of godliness or whatever, but he, you know, some of the stuff he did don't line up, but still that quote.
That was powerful.
Yeah, that was very powerful.
Sir.
That's very powerful.
Yes, sir. You know, you got me thinking about something else too, bro. When you was talking about your brother. The thing about it is we have to, because the world is so out of whack contextually, sometimes we have to say, you know, whether it was a white person, it was your black person, just because things are so crazy, you know. You know, I was telling a story this morning when we was in service about, you know, earlier in the service about, you know, a testimony of mine, and when I tell stories. In particular, one, I'm a visual person, so I kind of tell them because I want you to be able to visualize and paint the picture. But another portion of it, too, is I like to debunk things that people are trying to run with, especially in this day and time, even more so than ever before. And so I want you to know that if God used a person in my life to help my life, to help elevate my life, and they so happen to be a different color than me, yeah, he can do that. That happens. You know what I'm saying? You know, they are believers. Yes. Like you say, it's not where they come from, it's who they belong to. You know, and it's important that our people understand that. And when you be dismissive, you don't know what you're canceling out of your own life. You're hindering the Most High God. You're hindering the Creator. You're telling him, the only way that you can bless me is if you do it in a way that is comfortable to my eyes and comfortable to, you know, my flesh, and in a way that I can receive it and be okay with it. I don't want to limit my Savior, my God, my Creator that way. As a matter of fact, I give him the green light to bless me in any way, shape, or form that he feels like. And he don't have to be shy about it. He can just bless away. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to look at it differently or with a certain type of fear or a certain type of, you know, looking at it from a standpoint of suspiciousness and all that, just because it looks a certain way. I am looking for him in every situation that I go into, even when I'm dealing with my children, even when I'm dealing with my family, with my coworkers, whoever it may be, person on the street, in the grocery store, I am looking for him. A lot of times, what I found to be really true in today's time is when people are for something, a lot of times God shows me that that's not for me. And he allows me to see things very quickly and very clearly. Don't get wrapped up in it. Yeah, I know everybody's saying that that's, you know, but nah, let me show you what I see. And boom, he opens up my vision, because I don't come into it automatically say, oh yeah, they're friendly because they look like this, or even what they're saying. Because I've had people that say certain things, and oh, those words, those are trigger words. Oh, they said Jesus, they said blessing, they said, you know, and I'm getting excited. Oh yeah, that's right. No, I'm listening. Because if you keep talking and it's not him, you're going to reveal yourself, because he's going to show me. Now, that's not me. You know what I'm saying? That's not me. Regardless of what you look like, or you know, once again, what your status is or what you claim. Go ahead, wrap us up, bro.
All right, let me something you said that
do your thing.
So when you was talking about, you know, people get to the point, or even ourselves, you know, we get to like where we trying to tell God what you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, we gonna tell you how to bless. Let me tell, like Pastor Ricky B. Let me tell you something. This is how you bless me. If it don't come through this type of person, you ain't what you is, and I ain't looking for it. So, but that goes right back to idolatry, because I'm putting me over him.
That's right.
Now I'm God. I'm telling you what to do. I'm telling him what to do. And even people that say, oh, well, white Jesus, black Jesus, Chinese Jesus, whoever, he got to be my ethnic group. That's me putting myself above him, because I'm bringing him down to my level.
That's right.
Oh, he got to be black in order for me to worship him.
That's right.
Because if he white Jesus, ain't no way.
Ain't no way.
Or if he Hispanic, he Jesus. Ain't no way. He got to be dark skinned from Africa, man. African descent, and all. You know what I'm saying? But that's pulling him down.
That's right.
To you becoming God. Now you telling him what to do.
Facts. Listen, I gotta tell you this joke real quick. This is my dad. My daddy was a jokester, man. And you know, and he flipped it, you know what I'm saying? Because we were going to see the lights during Christmas time one time, and it was a certain neighborhood everybody was talking about. You know, in the gas house, they was like, man, this neighborhood is beautiful. It got beautiful lights, you know. And it wasn't McCaddenville where everybody go, you know, the one tourist place. It was just a neighborhood, right? And so you know, we got to pulling into the neighborhood, and there was different faces than ours, you know, and they was looking, you know, kind of looking. I ain't gonna lie, they was looking. And my dad, he was looking back, and he was like, you know what? The crazy thing about it is, if Jesus was to show up in an area like this, and he was black, people would be like, hey, go get the shotgun. Some nigger out there looking at our locks. You know what I'm saying? But you know, it's so true, because you could flip it the other way around too. Hey, hold up, G, hold up. What go get the thing, man. Hey, man, some white dude out here. You know what I'm saying?
Must be the police.
Yeah, right. You know what I mean? It's just how small-minded we can be when it comes to those things. And it's like, man, how can we tell him how he needs to be? You know, other than loving, other than forgiving, other than gracious, other than, you know, all the great things that he is to us. You know what I'm saying? I don't too much care about what he wraps himself in. You know what I'm saying? Like honestly, really, just be God.
Right.
That's all I need you to be. And as long as you're him, man, I'm good. I'm better than good.
Right.
It doesn't make somebody that look different than me better than me because they look maybe a little bit more like you. And this is the last thing, bro. I'm done. We don't know what glorified looks like.
Right, exactly.
So it may be a color we ain't never experienced before. And the only way that he could really allow us to understand through natural eyes was to give us the depiction that John, you know, gave us when he was talking about what he saw when he was taken up.
Yeah.
He had to give us the best description that he can give us of what he saw.
Right.
But you can't use human means to describe something that is totally spiritual. Like you just try your best.
Yeah, exactly. That's one of the points I make when people
you know what I'm saying?
Try to bring that up.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to discuss that whole passage because it's a lot in there that people just simply overlook, or they just ignorant to it, to what the context and all. Like you said, it ain't even, to me, it's not even talking. It's not, the whole point is not the color or anything. It's the brilliance of his radiance and his glory. That's what it's about. It ain't about, it ain't even about all that other stuff. It ain't, I always be like, he specifically start out, say, I was in the spirit. Right? Now, I ain't the smartest man in the world, but he said, I was in the spirit.
In the spirit.
So you mean to tell me he in the spirit, then he gonna take time to say, hold up, wait, I gotta describe his physical attribute. And let me describe like, that makes absolutely no sense,
bro.
None. And man, I ended with this. You know, I work at the post office.
Yes, sir. God bless you.
Yeah, Lord, please. Please, baby Jesus. God be, boy. I ain't, you about to get maybe get on something else. But now, so now I'm riding on my mail route. So I deliver in a rural area. So, you know, rural area, it ain't the hood. You know, you gonna see more people that don't look like me out in the rural. But it was this girl that worked with me. She grew up around this neighborhood or this area. And I had got my car stuck in a ditch. And it's real muddy, and I don't know, I was driving a little Honda. They ain't got no two-wheel drive. No, I ain't getting out. Man. So she calls this guy, and he lived down the street, and she called the guy. And I guess she told him everything, situation, and we was just standing there talking. And man, this man, he broke down, started crying.
Wow.
And he was like, you know, man, I used to be a racist.
Wow.
He said, I used to couldn't stand black people. I really didn't care for black people. But he was like, Jesus Christ saved my life. Man. And he said, you know what? You know what I came to realize? He said, we all bleed the same. He said, on the inside, we are all the same people. And he said, when you've been changed by Christ, you gonna see that. And I was like, man, dude started crying and laid his head on my shoulder, bro. Man, I hugged him so tight. And I feel like God allowed me to get stuck in that ditch
So you can
just
have
for that moment.
Yes, sir.
For that man could get that off of his chest.
Yes,
it might have been, you know, a hindrance to, he might still be feeling like that's holding him back. He just had to get it out
imagine
to
if
a black
heart,
person.
Imagine if your heart wasn't right.
Right. I would have, yeah, if I would have been, man. But yeah, man, that touched me so, man. I was like, and you look at something like that, man, you got to know God real. And Christ is the only answer.
That's right.
So like all this stuff, you know, people, black Jesus, white Jesus, all that stuff don't matter.
That's right.
When people can come to a place where they understand what that guy understood.
Yes, sir.
And like you said, my heart was in the right place to receive it and to help him. And it helped me.
Yes, sir.
That's what it's all about, man.
This is my final closing. I promise it's my final closing. Let's get rid of the unless. I can be saved, or I can tolerate certain things unless I can be cool with you, I can be your brother unless you know, when you really understand the agape love, that's what God shows us that he did for us. He took the unless out. In other words, he took all the conditions away.
Right.
And the conditions are what forms the unless. You know what I'm saying? I can rock with you. You could be my brother. Unless you're a Republican. Right. Unless you're a Democrat. Unless you're, you know. No.
That's
if
good.
it's really unconditional, are you a believer? Truly. And can I see the fruit in your life?
Right.
You know, because if I see those things, even if it's not perfect, which none of us are.
Right.
But if they're striving and I can see it, I can love you unconditionally enough to say, you know what, I'm going to hang in there with you, no matter what you look like, no matter where you come from, no matter even some of the setbacks you may experience. I'm going to hang in there with you because love tells me that I don't put any strings, attach any strings to it. You know, because then I need you to love a certain way, or no, let me put it this way. I need you to act a certain way so that you can earn my love. Right. You know what I'm saying? Or I need you to maintain a certain countenance so you can maintain and sustain my love. No, either I love you or I don't. There's no unless, there's no condition in it. You know, the same thing I tell my wife, you know, I love you when you're beautiful and I love you when you're acting ugly. You know what I'm saying? There's no, well, I can't love you today because you ain't acting lovingly. You know what I mean? Like, no, either I love you or I don't. I'm held accountable to that standard. God is looking at me as like, either you're saved or you're not. Either you're mine or you're not. Either you're looking the way I am teaching you and showing you to look, or you're not. And that's point blank, period. We don't have to add any special sauce, lettuce, cheese to that, bro. You know what I'm saying? That sandwich is perfect the way it is.
That's it.
And it helps me in so many situations because it tells me, hold on, sir, take that out of it. Take the you, the feelings, take the unless, the conditions, take them all out. And just look upon a person the same way that you would want them to look upon you. And let's start right there. Man, it'd change the game.
Man. Well, that's a whole new definition of agape right there. You done wrote a whole new definition. Hey.
Gotta get it, bro.
That's it, though.
Gotta get it.
That is it, man. I ain't got nothing behind that, bro. I can't do nothing else with that.
Man, hey.
So we gonna go on and just wrap it up.
We gonna wrap it up. We wrap it up then. You know what I'm saying? My brother, I love you, man.
I love you too,
bro. You know
bro.
what I'm saying? I appreciate you, bro. Like, these talks be necessary on so many levels, man. I don't even know how to say it, man. It's just so many levels, you know what I mean? Just from a personal standpoint, because we're in a crazy situation with the world, man. And sometimes you want to get stuff off your chest, but you want to make sure that you're saying things the right way. Right. And once again, that you have a love that don't have any strings attached to it when you do it. And I appreciate you challenging me in those areas. Say, hey, bro, let's keep the conversation going. And some of these topics, man, gosh, they heavy, but they real,
necessary,
man. They
too,
necessary.
Yeah.
But till the next time, man, I'm your boy Moon. That's
Professor Q signing off.
Signing off. Peace.